Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests, to this meeting of online presenters. Guests, which I don't think we have any today, but please note that in order to be a member of our club, you must be a current or former active Toastmasters International member and have completed at least 6 Toastmasters official speeches, or alternatively, if you have substantial relevant presentation experience, you may apply for membership after demonstrating your ability in a 2 to 3 minute speech delivered during one of our club meetings. All requests for memberships are subject to approval by the members of our club. If you have not already done so, please change your panel to ensure it shows your name and role if you have one. Right-click and select Rename to do so. We have members and guests from many countries throughout the world. Thus, as a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note that we will be recording the meeting and your video and audio contribution may be used for club marketing purposes. Also, please remain muted, O-N-M-U-T-E, not U-N-M-U-T-E, when you're not speaking. Today, the man, the myth, the legend, the drinking a breakfast drink at this time of the evening. Wait, he is in another day, our president, distinguished Toastmaster, Graham Carr.
I'm sorry, you were talking to me, weren't you? Yes, sorry, I was typing something. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm sorry, as president, that was probably very rude of me, but I'd like to welcome everyone here to today's meeting of online presenters. Particularly our guest, George, who is back again. I think you were here at our last meeting, George. Certainly, I've seen George at a number of clubs, and it must be stupid o'clock in the morning for him once again. So I thank him for being here at this time. I thank everybody, all of our members, for being here. I mean, I know this is a bit of a case of preaching to the converted or singing to the choir, whatever it is, the phrase that you wish to use. But it would be really nice if we could have a few more members here. So if you happen to be talking to any of our fellow members, just remind them that there are meetings and that they are good fun and that they should be here. Also, please think about bringing along other Toastmasters that you know who could benefit from the experience of this club and the focus that we have in online presentations. I'll be talking about the difference between online and in-room and all that as part of my DTM Project Speech today, but as a reminder, we could all bring along some of our friends and show them what it is that we do. Look, we've got 3 speeches plus a tip of the day. The agenda is going to be jam-packed, so I'm going to leave it at that. I'll have a few words to say about the convention coming up at the end of the meeting, but let me hand control now to our Toastmaster for the day. Please welcome the one, the only, don't swoon, she's only human. Here's Evie Hartman.
Thank you, President Graham, for that lovely introduction. I would like to extend a warm welcome to everybody. Though we're a little light tonight, we've got a fun, rollicking meeting. We have a theme, a rising tide lifts all ships. But first, let's set the scene. As Toastmaster of the Day, it is my role to facilitate this meeting in 3 parts. Our prepared speeches, of which we have 3, our members delivering speeches based on projects in their pathways. In part 2, we have members and guests practice their thinking and speaking on their feet skills in our table topics. And part 3, the evaluation portion of our meeting. And I cannot do this alone. I have a team that will be assisting me in these duties, many of them taking on multiple roles tonight so that we can really knock it out of the park. All right, first, our grammarian. You just heard him speak. We love to hear him speak. Mr. Graham is muted.
Mute. Yay. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. My role as grammarian will be to listen for egregious errors in the use of language, but also, and this is something that the grammarian sometimes doesn't do, but I really like, is I'll be watching for good examples. similes, analogies, metaphors, flights of fancy, using the language in a way that makes it caress as well as cudgel. So I'll be watching for all of your use of grammar, and I'll make a report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you very much, Graham. All right, now for our dual role watcher and chat monitor. You're okay, it moved. All right, Mr. Jim Barber.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Let me take them one at a time. As the watcher this evening, I am the visual counterpart to Graham's grammarian. I am a visual grammarian. I will be looking for egregious uses of the visual medium. I will be looking specifically for lighting, for framing, for centering, for all the different things that you will do to your picture. And I'll report at the end of the meeting on both the good and the bad, if there happens to be any. As the chat monitor, I am going to be, this is tough, monitoring the chat. I will be doing this for two purposes. Number one is to give Evie one less thing that she has to look at. If I see anything pop up in the chat that she should know about, I will let her know. The more likely thing that will occur is at the end of the meeting, I will remind anyone of if there was anything particularly fascinating in the chat, so they can go back and make a copy of it, or they can save chat or whatever. And that is it.
Thank you so much, Jim. All right, and for our timer, thank you so much for taking on that role, Mr. Andrew Byrne.
Thank you very much. The role of the timer is to make sure that we are all being kept on time. In particular, there are specific time requirements or segments in each of the bracketed portions of our meeting. For our prepared speeches, and I haven't gotten the exact number of minutes for each one because David's doing a professional speech, but prepared speeches normally are 5 to 7 minutes. The table topics or the impromptu speaking is usually 1 to 2 minutes, and the evaluation is 2 to 3 minutes. And I will go through the colored lights. For green is when you hit the minimum, yellow is the midway point, and red is when you have completed your time allotment. And then you have 30 seconds after that. Back to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Andy. All right, last but not least, we have our vote counter, and our vote counter tonight is Carolina.
My role today is to count the votes for the best speaker, the best evaluator, and the best impromptu speaker. I'll put a link on the chat, and you will vote for your favorite through that link. Back to you, Evie.
Thank you so much, Carolina. All right. Since we have at least one very long speech today, I will try not to make this egregiously long, but I do have a little bit of an introduction. Our theme tonight is "A rising tide lifts all ships." This adage reminds us of the profound impact that collective growth and development can have. It signifies that when the environment improves or when conditions are favorable, everyone benefits, be it at an organization, a community, or an entire society. This theme is deeply intertwined with the concept of mentorship. Just as the tide doesn't discriminate and lifts all in its wake, a mentor provides knowledge, guidance, and support, ensuring not just their mentees' growth, but indirectly, the enhancement of the entire organization. Through the act of mentorship, knowledge is transferred, skills are honed, and a tradition of excellence is passed down, creating an atmosphere of perpetual improvement. Moreover, as individuals and as leaders, our actions should not solely focus on our own success, but on actions and initiatives that uplift everyone around us. When we work toward the benefits of our entire organization, we are not only strengthening its foundations, but also creating a ripple effect, which has the potential to enhance everyone's experiences and outcomes. So as we go on with our meeting tonight, even though it's a little light, I encourage everyone to think about how you can be that rising tide in someone's life or within Toastmasters. How can you contribute or mentor or be a mentor or simply support someone to ensure our growth and success? Remember, when we lift others, we rise together. So let's embark on this meeting tonight. Without further ado, let's go ahead and let me see. Do we want to do the tip of the day as we have done it in the past before the speeches, or would we like to do it the way we've been experimenting with lately, which is between table topics and evaluations? Since you are both a speaker and an the tip of the day.
I'm ready to go now, so why don't I go now?
Let's do it. Let's do it for the tip of the day. Mr. David Carr, thank you so much.
For our tip of the day, George, you may have seen this a couple of times. We're trying to do some kind of practical little either technology lesson or strategy leadership technique that might be relevant to our members. I thought I would talk to you about how to develop a YouTube brand account, which is something that you might want to do if you are trying to develop a digital presence either for yourself or for your business or your Toastmasters club or any other organization. Really what you're trying to do is create an identity that is distinct from your personal identity. So I'm going to screen share, starting from the online presenters channel in YouTube, which I have been trying to update to include a number of things that didn't get shared over the past several weeks. But within this dashboard, I can actually navigate to several other of my split personalities. So if I go to David F. Carr, that is actually tied to my personal Google account. But I can go to the EVCon channel. I can go to the Club Awesome Toastmasters channel or the Online Presenters channel. Also, I helped keynote speaker Linda Marie Miller set up a channel a while ago, so I have access to that. And actually, one of the main reasons that you want to do this is that so multiple people can have access to that account. You don't do it by sharing passwords, which is a bad idea for security. And also these days, every good digital platform is challenging you periodically to verify on your phone or verify in some other means that you are who you say you are. And so if you're sharing passwords, that becomes awkward very fast. So for the brand account that we have here, I can go to settings and permissions and manage permissions. And I already have this open in another tab, which I don't want to close because Google started hitting me with all those challenges to prove that I really was who I said I was, and I didn't want to do that in the middle of the demo. But I can manage permissions, and so we have several people set up who have access. Oh no, it's going to do it to me again anyway. But this is one of the passwords that I do memorize rather than trusting it to a password manager. But I went through and I weeded out some of the old ones. I added Evie and also Andre, who is our social media manager and our PR manager, should have had access to this previously. I sent him an invitation. If I want somebody else to be able to have access to this, I can just add an email here and choose the role that I want to assign them. So being able to share among several people is one of the main virtues. Now, how you create this in the first place is I would go into settings. And by the way, here I am in YouTube Studio. So studio.youtube.com. I think you could navigate to it if you were just on youtube.com anyways, but studio.youtube.com is where you manage your uploaded content. And if I go to the advanced tab here and go down to the bottom, say manage YouTube account, and one of the options will be to add or manage your channel. And here are several that I have access to. I can say create channel, and I'm going to create one for the RSVP Maker plugin. So I've been uploading those things to my personal channel, but maybe if I build this into more of a business, I want to have this separate. It asks you to say that you understand that this is going to be separate from your personal account. It's going to have a whole new history associated with it. And so, boom, now I have a brand new account. It's giving me an error message saying this channel does not exist. And so I need to do some more things to flesh this out. I'm going to leave it there. let you figure out as an exercise for the reader or the viewer how to solve that bug that just came up there. Because every time I do this, Google has changed things just a little bit. So look up the latest tutorial and see how they want you to do it this month. But the main thing that I wanted to communicate is why you would want to create this in the first place. It is a branded identity for your business, for your Toastmasters Club. It is separate from you personally and is not locked into a single password. Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you so much, David, for that very useful tip of the day. I went ahead and accepted that invitation to help manage that, and I'm excited to help. All right, now let's go ahead and get into our prepared speakers of the evening, and I'm excited to hear all three of them. All right, first we have someone presenting Dynamic Leadership Level 2, Learning Your Style, Introduction to Toastmasters Mentoring. The title is Unofficial Mentors. In this speech, the speaker will describe their experience as a protege. Everyone, Carolina Ramírez.
Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters. Introduction to Toastmasters Mentoring. Describe your experience as a mentee. Maybe it sounds very easy, but not to me. It could sound very strange, but I've never had an official mentor, neither in Toastmasters nor outside Toastmasters. However, I have to be grateful to all these people around me that have been unofficial mentors in my life. My friends, my family, my coworkers, my fellow Toastmasters, all of them have been crucial to help me get to where I am today. In this opportunity, I would like to mention two people that have had a great influence on me. The first and most important is my mom. My mom has always been a very independent woman with a strong character. Since I was a kid, she instilled in me the importance of being economically and emotionally independent. Go to university, being a good professional, being honest, and I think that's what I became. For me, having my own money is something extremely important. I am an independent person who loves freedom, and I have a very determined and resilient character. Her influence is the foundation of who I am today. The second person who has influenced me a lot is my brother-in-law, my sister's husband. He's quite a character. He's a businessman, entrepreneur, and founder of an organization whose mission is to teach robotics here in Chile. When I was a child, finance and entrepreneurship were not topics of conversation in my home. I grew up with a mentality of going to the university and looking for a job without understanding much about finance and the search of new business opportunities. However, when I met my brother-in-law, my mentality began to change. We used to have long conversations about personal finance and what it implies to have your own company. He had enough knowledge to answer my questions and offer advice. In addition, he used to talk to me about a subject that I knew practically nothing before I met him: technology. Thanks to his influence and mentoring, today I am constantly studying finance and I have an entrepreneurial mindset. I even created a small company. Unfortunately, it was not successful. In addition, I discovered my love for technology and I could find a job here in Chile where I can mix my knowledge in mining and tech. When I look back, I get impressed by how much influence people can have on you. And maybe you are wondering, why you need a mentor? It's convenient for you to have a mentor because, according to one of my favorite authors, Robert Greene, he writes in his book, The Mastery, about the importance of having a mentor. According to him, having a mentor can be extremely beneficial in helping you achieve mastery. A mentor can provide guidance, advice, and support as you work towards your goals. Mentorship can be a shortcut to accelerate the knowledge process in your field or in your work. where you have to look for a mentor. It's convenient for you to look for a mentor through networking, reaching out to experts in your field, or seeking out formal mentorship programs. If it's difficult for you to find a proper mentor at this moment, look for advice in books, videos, blogs, social media, or podcasts. It should be noted that at Toastmasters, we have a mentoring program that can be very helpful in your journey as a speaker and leader, and a great opportunity to grow. In our club, Online Presenters, which is an advanced club, we have a large numbers of members who have a lot of experience. So this is a great club for you to look for a mentor. To have unofficial mentors has been a great help in my life to form my character and define and achieve my goals. However, mentoring is such an important process in the life of a human being that perhaps it is time for me to have an official mentor. I still have a lot to learn and many goals I want to achieve, and someone's support is always very welcome. Some people say it's never too late to start. Miss Toastmaster, back to you.
Thank you so much, Carolina. All right, for our second speech, we have another treat. We've got a Persuasive Influence Level 5 demonstrating expertise, a DTM Project Speech 2. The title is Hybrid Conferences, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Graham Cairns is striving to achieve his second Distinguished Toastmaster Award, the first under the Pathways educational program. A capstone of that process is what's known as a DTM project, where the prospective DTM completes a significant project of their own design that benefits an organization. Over the past year, Graham Cairns has been leading a team conducting hybrid speech contests for his Toastmasters home district in Australia, with varying degrees of success. This was his Distinguished Toastmaster project, and this presentation today is a report on how things went. Mr. Graham Cairns.
Graham, is this 5 to 7 or longer?
5 to 7, yes. And I have the results from the chief judge, the contest Toastmaster told those of us in the room and online. Unfortunately, I have to report that there was a disqualification for time. And now it was no great surprise to anyone. It was obvious that the contestant from California had gone well over time, closer to 4 minutes than the allowed 2 minutes. But it was still disappointing. The contest Toastmaster continued. The results of the Area 31 Table Topics contest are, and then announced that the winner would go on to the Brisbane Division Conference. It's not an unusual occurrence, a time disqualification at contest, but the problem was that the contestant who went overtime was the only contestant appearing online. And he later complained that he had no idea of what his time was because he couldn't see the lights. Madam Toastmaster, Toastmasters, over the last couple of years, Toastmasters has, without providing any support to districts, required districts to allow all competitions at area, division, and district level to have a hybrid component. All competitions either had to be entirely online or hybrid. Area, division, and district contests could not be just face-to-face. They had to allow a hybrid component. When that was announced, there weren't a lot of people with experience in running hybrid competitions. In fact, there weren't a lot of people in my home district, District 69, who had a lot of experience with hybrid meetings in any way, shape, or form. A bit of background here, if I may. District 69, my home district, covers the entire state of Queensland, which is roughly the size of the state of California, plus the Northern Territory, roughly the size of Nevada, plus Papua New Guinea, an entirely different country, plus Fiji, an entirely different country in an entirely different part of the world, plus a few clubs in northern New South Wales, a different state. We have no idea why they are there. It's just one of those acts of history. This is a huge district. And District 69 had only, at that stage, perhaps half a dozen hybrid clubs, despite the fact that we had, like everybody else, had the issues of COVID, where clubs had all gone online, but most clubs had gone back to face-to-face. There weren't very many clubs that were hybrid. I was involved in one of those clubs, which had actually been hybrid since before COVID, so I had some experience with this. When Toastmasters, by fiat, announced that all area, division, and district contests must allow hybrid or entirely online participation, I stuck my hand up and said, look, I will arrange or conduct all of the area, division, and district contests in District 69, at least in the southern half of the state, over the next 12 months. And one of the first ones that we did was that area that I was just speaking about, where the contestant from California couldn't see the lights. Now, we were actually holding the lights up in front of the camera so that the contestant could see it, but as all too often happens, he didn't see that particular square because he just didn't. Now I know that we could have pinned it. Now I know that we could have stuck the hand up using the reactions button so that the timing lights would always be in the top left-hand corner. We didn't know that because we were still learning. That was probably the biggest error that we had in the dozen or more area and division contests that I ran over the past 12 to 18 months. Some things, on the other hand, went right, went spectacularly right. We had, for example, set up the hybrid component of a division contest where we had no online participants. We did have some online audience, but we had no online participants. But because we had agreed to set up the hybrid component, I had set up the hybrid component. And at about 30 minutes before the speech contest for the international contest, one of the contestants suddenly said, I cannot compete, I have to leave, I have a family crisis. And so the second place getter was able to step up into the divisional contest, which is how it works. Except that that second place getter was not in the room. She was, in fact, one of those who was watching the contest online, and she was able to step forward and compete as a hybrid contestant. Didn't win, didn't place, but at least she was able to do it. And that was one of the things that worked really well. I was setting up these hybrid contests for area and division contests, and quite frankly, most of the time, there was nobody competing online and not a great number of people who weren't physically in the room to watch. But we had agreed to do this, and so we set it up. There are some issues that I hadn't considered. One of those, for example, was, what do we do about timing lights for online participants? We thought if we just hold the timing lights up in front of the camera, that will be enough. Obviously, it wasn't. So, but the alternative, which is to do the logical thing and to have a second laptop set up so that the timing lights could be done online, the problem was that would give everybody in the room an indication of the time. And under the rules, nobody is supposed to know what the time is apart from the contestants and the timers. Not even the judges are supposed to know what the timing is. Judges do, because we're not stupid. We watch, and when the timer goes click, you think, there's the 5 minutes. There's the... But so the only way that we were able to do that was to ensure that each contestant had a timing device with them and tell them to run their own timing. There was simply no other way that we could do it to be equitable to all contestants. That was one of the issues that I hadn't considered. Another was bandwidth. I have a couple of Wi-Fi modems, which I use, and they're quite good. Except that if you've got a lot of people in the room and they all happen to hook into my Wi-Fi modem, then the bandwidth suddenly starts to slow down. So in the end, I was using one Wi-Fi modem specifically for my connection. Everybody else had to make their own arrangements if they wanted connection in the room. Most of them used their mobile phones. Some of them used the house Wi-Fi if the venue had Wi-Fi. But I had a specific Wi-Fi connection just for the hybrid contest because that was important. I didn't realize that in a full day's contests, the wireless microphones that I was using might not last the full 6 hours of the contest. So I learned after we ran out with one speaker left to go in one contest, fortunately they were in the room, so it didn't really matter. I learned to have not one, not two, but 3 sets of microphones, and I had a different set of microphones for each contest. That worked. So there are things that I learned. There were things that I observed. There are things that I have passed on. Now, I mention passing them on because the question arises, would I do this myself? Is that a red light, by the way, Andrew, or is that just Nemo in the background? I'm going to assume that's a red light. So I will shut up. What I have decided is, well, not my circus, not my monkeys is the phrase that comes to mind. I've done this for 1.5 years. I will provide support for whoever takes on this role if this role is needed. And here's the thing. Toastmasters is a communications organization. That's what we do. We are all about communicating. Does anybody know for certain, not believe, but know for certain whether this next cycle of contests will be face-to-face only, hybrid, or online only? No, none of us do. We should find out when a decision is announced during conference, but we don't know. And so we can't plan. And so I'm not planning, except planning to assist if it's required for the next cycle, but somebody else can do it. If for no other reason than because I'm going to be a contestant. And I expect to be going all the way through to district. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Graham, for that that roller coaster of emotions and for being part of the rising tide that's helping to lift the ships. One person can't do it all, but you've done very much. All right, for our next speaker, we have a non-manual speech, a custom speech, 8 to 10 minutes. The title is Getting Our Data in the News. David Carr, Distinguished Toastmaster, is a Senior Insights Manager at SimilarWeb, discovering stories in the company's data that will be of interest to the media. He's practicing for a 10-minute presentation on the company's go-to-market, which is essentially its sales team, on the value of getting SimilarWeb's name into the media and how they can get the company's story told. That's 8 to 10 minutes. Mr. David Carr.
Just for a few minutes today to talk about the Insights News team, what we do, why we do it, and potentially how you can be part of helping us generate better stories that will be newsworthy, ultimately with the goal of generating more leads for you and warmer leads for you. But I need to explain that I'm not in the same business as the people who do sales enablement for you in terms of developing product collateral or sales pitch emails. I am a little bit more removed from that, but still the goal is to get SimilarWeb's name out there in a positive way. I'm on a very small team. It's essentially just me and one other researcher working with the outside PR agencies who actually help pitch the reporters and field some reporter requests, relay them into us. But we work primarily on 3 main activities. One is to find stories in SimilarWeb data, uncover something interesting, pitch it out to the press, see if we can make them make a story out of it. Probably we spend about another 50% of our time responding to inbound queries from the media. They have a story, they have a deadline, they want data to help them make their argument, or to tell them just what's going on so they know what case to make, what story to tell. And along the way, we're supposed to build relationships with reporters, and I think we are doing that successfully, and positioning SimilarWeb as the go-to source for website and app data. And the app data, as many of you know, is something that we've been trying to refresh and improve, trying to flesh out that iOS story, despite everything that Apple is throwing in our way in terms of obstacles. But we're getting better at being able to tell all these stories and trying to position ourselves as the one-stop shop that reporters can come to when they need a story about any digital enterprise, anybody, which is basically all businesses these days, who needs to make a positive impression in the business world and bring in customers online. So here is some of the placements that we see. So we are in these major publications. And again, part of the point is to get our name out there and get it into publications that are read by decision makers, as in the people that you need to impress when you're trying to make a sale. So we want to be in these big name publications. We also want to be in some trade publications that are more focused. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. And hopefully when you go to pitch why they should do business with us, they're going to remember seeing SimilarWeb's name in some news report, or if not, you can just remind them that we're trusted as a data source by these big publications on important stories. Now, when we publish something, we typically don't put it out as a press release. I spend very little time on what we would consider traditional public relations, putting out a press release, blowing our own horn, and then trying to get media coverage on that, because mostly nobody cares. There are a few search engine optimization trade publications that will care when we announce SimilarWeb 3.0. I am working on a press release for that right now. But mostly the media is interested in what the media is interested in. And what we want to do is connect with them where they're already at and try and tell a story, help them tell their story, but along the way, get in a little bit of our story about interesting data that we have to create curiosity among people who might be able to buy our services. So ChatGPT has been a wonderful gift to my team over the past several months. We've been charting the rise of it. And then about May, I saw that the tremendous growth was starting to flatten out. I said, next month, we're going to be able to say that it started to fall. So that happened in June, it happened again in July. And so now we're telling sort of the contrary story of this is not as big of a deal as it was a little while ago. So that's a story. The Meta platforms, the people behind Facebook and Instagram, decided to come out with a competitor to Twitter a little while ago, right at the beginning of July. And we've gotten tremendous coverage on that. And one of the virtues here is we have been able to emphasize our app data. So we're that one-stop shop that reporters can come to for both app and for web. We're able to tell a story about the app engagement being achieved by Threads, which was tremendous at first, and then has fallen away very significantly. Here I'm trying to develop sort of a different angle on a story we've already been telling about Twitter and the challenges it's been going through. And in the process, tell stories about how we're able to segment out data on specific activities. So people who are going to the cancellation page, saying they don't want to be a Twitter user anymore, now that Elon Musk is in charge. And it turns out that there were more of them canceling than there were signing up for the $8 a month subscription, which was Elon's brilliant business plan at some point. We also have been reporting regularly on traffic to the different ad portals for the social networks. So this is something that we developed over time. We've been putting this out proactively, and now reporters come to us looking for that data every month. So as soon as it's available, we make sure to get this out. And part of what we're doing here is every time I provide that data to a reporter, I ask them to link to these blog posts. I'll talk about the importance of that in just a moment. Here we're trying to tie in with more of a formal marketing department campaign where they wanted to have a big splash about our Amazon Prime data, our e-commerce data in general, but what it told us about how Amazon did with its big Prime Day promotion. And so we were able to get some media coverage for this, not tremendous, not as much as the marketing team would have liked, but we were at least connecting with a story that was already in the news. And then there are stories that we just try and develop. We're trying to put out the fact that we have great e-commerce data. So this was something about Pence retail. And we didn't get tremendous coverage. Our agency was kind of asking us, why are we even doing this story? But along the way, we developed a relationship with a pets retail specific trade journal. And in some ways, the fact that they are now publishing our data on a regular basis may be a big deal for somebody who's in that specific industry. And they read the general business press, sure, but they pay more attention to something that's focused on their industry. So we are trying to look for those placements too. A couple of metrics of success. Our CEO or offer was very big on the idea that we don't just want them to mention us, we want them to link to our website. We can't really demand that reporters do anything. But the strategy I came up with that was pretty successful was, as I said, yeah, I'm happy to give you that data. Please link to this blog post on the same topic as a place your readers can get more information. And if we can position it to the reporter as a service to the reader, a place they can get more information, they're more willing to do that. And so here's the progress we achieved in the first half of the year. And then July came along and they had this Threads launch. And we were able to get in the middle of that story. And this is what happened. It went from hundreds to over 2,000 just backlinks. And total traffic is over 13,000 visits to our website driven by this story. So not all of you are necessarily have a story to tell that is about Twitter or Threads or anything like that. But part of why I'm coming to you is you know what the customers care about. You know how our data makes a difference for businesses. And if we can develop stories about that, we may be able to create a more specific pipeline between that press interest and things that are going to bring you sales. So my door is always open. I want to hear your story ideas, and that's why I'm here today.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Company Chairman or whatever, but Ms. Toastmaster, actually.
Thank you so much, David, for that fascinating look into your day-to-day. That's a very interesting company, and I'm sure it must have been very exciting to get all those backlinks from. Yeah, that was pretty cool. All right, so our timers report. Did our speakers qualify? You're muted.
Yes, they qualified.
All right, thank you so much, Andy. All right, 3 amazing speeches, and we're moving right along into one of my favorite parts of Toastmasters, our table topics, where we practice our impromptu speaking skills. And one of the most fun and rambunctious, exciting people is in this club is going to lead us today in table topics, Miss Joni Laidlaw.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day. Well, today, because a Toastmaster wears many hats and I've been being taught to work smart, not hard, Udley will actually be leading our table topics segment today. For those who don't know, as if you don't see it every week, I am a Udley ambassador. And the beauty of Udley is the fun games that we have. Now, Andy, you get a break and you can take one of the table topics question because fortunately, it's actually timed. So I am going to set this for 2 minutes and we're going to put it on Medium. This is online presenters after all. Table topics on steroids. So let me explain spin a yarn. Not only are you going to get the question, but you're also going to get words thrown at you that will be required to be placed in the speech. So I am going to start with distinguished Toastmaster Graham Cairns because technically he is the winner of the last time this was done, and I'm gonna put it on Monster. Are you ready?
I'm ready to rock and roll.
All right, here you go.
Pets are better than children because, well, they don't live as long for a start. They don't mess up the carpet the way that children do. They don't have to be named something really strange, and they are really good at biting with their teeth. Of course, I love the fact that pets can be placed into calendars. I've got a farmer, for example, who sends me a volcano calendar every year. It's set near the coast and it has pets in them. But there's a wrench in this problem, and that's because there are so many kittens that can be shown. I need a calculator to show how many. I'm married to this very concept of kittens being calculated with the condition of having a pickle on their heads. I don't want the pickle on their heads to be orange because who wants an orange pickle? That would be really, really bad luck. But if I can swing it, then I will have the crown of being the best table topics presenter who is talking about marriage and tripods, because tripods are necessary for children and for pets. They help them breathe, the sound of thunder, the salad of words that come from this sort of thing. This is really quite difficult, I have to tell you. I'm going to ring out the praise here for this. I really am going to do that on my telephone because telephones and communication are very important to us. Why isn't it picking up so many of these words is a question. I don't know. I fear that my language, my education is skating past the particular it's my accent that is an issue. Anyway, oh, sugar, I don't know where I'm going to go. Maybe it's that the country that I come from has such a strange accent. Maybe it's the toothpaste that I use is giving me a lisp. Maybe it's that I am a frog and I haven't kissed enough princes yet. I don't know. There's the balloon and it's up.
And that, everyone, is how it's done. And I couldn't say why it was not picking up all of what you stated. Could be that you were throwing the word in there, not in a full sentence. Just putting that out there. But now that we've seen how it's done, I am going to, don't worry, I'm not going to put it on Monster for everyone. I'm going to bring it down to Medium. See, I'm being nice. Jim Barber, you're up next. Are you ready?
No, I'm not. I'm exhausted after listening to Graham.
Awesome, which means that you will do an exemplary, exhaustive, ripple through time of a job. Over to you.
What 3 qualities would your parents use to describe me? Well, they might describe me as a cannon because they think that I'm a big shot. You never know. They might describe me as a rainbow because I'm colorful and I streak across the sky. They might say that they're ready for me to leave the nest at any point because they're tired of having me around. You never know. They might call me a banana. I don't know why they would call me a banana. I think more I'm a gem if you want to come right down to it. But I could be described as a banana, damn it. Dinner time. Dinner time is a good time to have bananas. It's a good time because you can see the clocks. It's a good time to come up with a gem. A hydrofoil? How in the world am I supposed to use the word hydrofoil in a table topics? You're trying to pull the wool over my eyes. I keep saying the word gem and it doesn't pick up on it. It couldn't be my accent. I'm not from Australia. Prose is a great word and it's still not picking up anything about prose. Come on. Helicopter. I can do a helicopter and it's a big yarn. It's a loss to Udly if they're not picking up on my different uses here. That's the skinny of what I'm talking about. Come on, this is a yarn. This is a big table topics yarn. Thank you. May the force be with you, Udly. I like you too. And you're on my side finally. Thank you. We're almost at the end of at least my portion of this meeting, and I don't remember what the other words were, so it's like finding a needle in a haystack. And it's plastic. That's all I can do.
Awesome. Thank you, Jim. The one you missed, well, I heard you say prose, I did, but it was prose nest, which I did hear you say, but I think it's because you didn't reference that bird nest that was outside your window and it remembered unusual pets. And I did hear gem. I don't know why you didn't pick it up. But
I said gem at least 6 times. I don't know.
Right.
It's
so
broken.
Or it goes to prove that quite possibly it's all accents across the board. Good job on your table topics question. Now, next person up will be Carolina Ramírez. Carolina, are you ready?
No, not at all.
Awesome. I love when you say no.
No.
All right, but we're gonna go. I wasn't ready, but we're doing it anyway.
Okay.
Over to you.
Where did the word dictionary get its meaning from? Where did the word? I'm not sure why people are thinking about the word dictionary comes from. Maybe if you have an engine search in Google, you can find it, or maybe you can see it right in a shirt. Or maybe if you climb a hill, you can find the meaning before think about it. Or maybe you can have a presidency in a club where you study the meanings of different words. Or you can use underwear, or maybe you can spy someone and find out the meaning of dictionary, or I hope that the force is with you and you can find the answers. And I don't want to say that we're idiots, but it's difficult for me to find. You need a baseline in order to find the meaning of some words, and it's difficult for me this exercise because I need more stamina, and I'm the average South American girl that doesn't know the meaning of some words, and it's too difficult for me, Yodely.
Good try,
Wow.
Carolina. It could possibly be
16
the
misses. Wow.
accent. But you know what? That's why Udly's there to practice. It still doesn't get when I say volcano, lava. No, it's lava. And I got the question, and the question was, do you have to complete all of the time? No, you don't. You can actually say, okay, I give up, Udly, you win. And with that, I am going to ask Marian McGrady to take our next question. Are you ready, Marianne?
Ready as I'm gonna be for this.
All right. You can just throw up your hands and go, I've had enough when you do, but I hope you make it to the end. Over to you.
What is my favorite mobile app? Well, when I'm on the beach wearing my sandals and wearing my bathing suit, I like to look at the wall on my Facebook account. I also like to hang my clothes on the clothesline in the backyard, which has nothing to do with an app, but I do have a yoga app. And my friend and I put it on my iPad and we work together and do our moves. It's always best to do it on the beach with a full moon. It is just absolutely beautiful. And these exercises stick with you. I like to eat tacos, so we have to do that exercise. I like to do things where my face is happy. And one of those things I like to do is to use some of my email accounts and my social media accounts. And when I speak to my friends through these applications, distance is very small. It makes me so happy. I like piano music in the background, so some of the games have that while you're thinking, and I think that really, it makes it a wonderful experience. Cabbage. I'm not sure of an app with that, but I do like coleslaw with celery. I do not like when people drive their hovercrafts around my backyard. I have a screened-in backyard. It's in my background, if you can see, and I don't like when people are back there looking back at me, so don't like it. I do have a thing for vests, and though I don't know how that applies to a favorite mobile app, I like them. Tragedy, when I lose a game, I am very competitive. I hate using the help button. And wouldn't it be nice if you were compensated?
Awesome. And just like that, see, you made it all the way to the end. Now, because it's timed, I can say all speakers qualified without the need of the timer because we all did 2 minutes. Awesome job. It's great practice and lots of fun. Back to you, our Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you so much, Joni, for another super fun table topics that I'm almost glad there wasn't time for me to do one of, because I've never done that. And I kind of hope it never gets me. Yeah, so did all of our, wait, you already answered that question. Okay, all of our table topic speakers qualified. I would like everyone to please go ahead and vote for the best speaker and the best table topics master. If you haven't already done that, Carolina has kindly put those links in the chat. So if you would navigate to them and go ahead and vote. I will go ahead and pass it on to our general evaluator of this evening, the lovely Marianne Grady.
Well, I always love when somebody calls me lovely, so thank you for that lovely introduction. As the general evaluator tonight, we're going to be assessing the quality of our meeting, and this helps everybody in our club. We're going to be looking for preparation, organization, timeliness, enthusiasm, and how we carry out our duties. And our first evaluators will be evaluating our speakers. So evaluator 1 is Jim Barber, evaluating Carolina Ramirez's speech. Please welcome Jim.
Did I unmute? I lost my Zoom screen. Okay, yes, I did. All right. Hi, Madam General Evaluator. Thank you. And my fellow Toastmasters, Carolina. This was another great presentation. You are so enjoyable to listen to and to watch a presentation by you. You have natural, whoops, there we go. You have natural presence. You look good on camera. Your lighting, your framing, you the camera likes you. I don't know any other way to put it than that. The camera likes you. You look good on screen. You also sound good on screen. Your diction, your vocal variety, your pacing. You're conversational. You're not speaking to us. You're simply having a conversation, and it works so well. I do have a couple of suggestions for you, and they're kind of related. First one is, let's see, there we go. Okay. As you can see there, that's a fairly typical shot that I have up there of you all the time, which was very good, but it would have been nice if you had raised your hands a couple of times just to put some variety in there of what we were looking at, put some gestures in there. That would have helped a little bit, give it a little something more to look at. As an alternative, you were talking in your presentation about your mother and your brother-in-law. It would have been awful nice if you had, since you had a picture, now I can't get to that, but you have up in the corner of your frame, you have a picture, a diagram that supports your picture. But if you had substituted for that a picture of your mother, a picture of your brother-in-law, we could have gotten to know them better, and it would have established a little bit better rapport with the audience. An alternative, if you don't want to go through the visual thing of doing that, would be to use a prop. This accomplishes both the things of using gestures and putting a picture up there so that you can show a picture of your mother, show a picture of your brother-in-law. And the cool part is we don't know them, so it doesn't even have to be your mother that you're putting a picture up there. Just put a picture up of a lady, put a picture up of a gentleman, and say that they're your mother, they're your brother-in-law, and we won't know the difference, but it gives us something interesting to look at. And these, again, are just minor things. This was a very good presentation. This would just make it take your 3.5-star presentation and make it into a 4-star presentation. I'm looking forward to seeing that in your next presentation. Oh, and before I leave, let me just say, Ripple, back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Why, thank you, Jim. Very insightful evaluation. Our next evaluator will be Joni Renee Laidlaw. We just heard from her during table topics, and she'll be evaluating President Graham's speech today. So please put your hands together for Joni.
Thank you, our general evaluator. Distinguished Toastmaster Graham Cairns. Now, this is Distinguished Toastmaster again, which means that you already laid the groundwork and you are making a ripple effect through your district as it relates to hybrid meeting. Now, I know that you're a go-to for the space, and utilizing that premise and power to affect others, especially in an uncertain time when most people don't know what to do, is actually the point of becoming a distinguished Toastmaster. It's how you affect those around you with the abilities that you've gained, either from Toastmasters and utilizing it, or from outside Toastmasters and the ability to take it and influence others in the space. I liked your pace and your tone as well as your diction. I, however, had a suggestion as it relates to your framing. Now, we have a thing where we do frame to hear. And while your gestures were poignant when you remembered because you lifted your hands above the screen to make them visible, I could see that, you know, when the duck is swimming, I knew the little legs were working under the water, but I couldn't see past here. So unless it was an overemphasized gesture where you remember to say up at the south, or you were doing something that you elevated your hands, I couldn't see what was happening here. I love the fact that you reframe, because now I'm able to see more of you and your movements would be more visible for me to be able to suggest on same. Now, as someone who is married to the issues associated with technology, it became a running joke because guess what? Toastmasters is where we fail forward. Murphy became the go-to for all that went wrong. I like the fact that you utilized the issues that you had to enhance the sphere. What I can suggest for you to do to take it to another level would be in the same way that you're now a go-to resource, create a resource. Make suggestions based on everything that you had affect you, all that went wrong, all that you couldn't perceive, and who would have thought that that would have happened? Or like I like to suggest, yeah, life beat the out of me, but guess what? I can help you to get through it. Overall, enjoyable speech, love the tips, great proof on how we become distinguished Toastmasters again. And I now return control to our general evaluator.
Oh, thank you so much, Joni. Wonderful evaluation. Next up, we have George Chiesa, and he will be evaluating Mr. David Carr.
Thank you. It's a pleasure and an honor to have the privilege to do that. And I say this because we are evaluating here together a masterful presentation by somebody who knows how to do the individual pieces. So I cannot comment on technique, but I can comment on structure. Because in a pep talk, structure is the most important thing after delivery. In a pep talk, you want to tell people in the first 20 seconds what's in for them. And the what's in for them is, our company is the one-stop shop for app data. You guys sell this stuff to customers. I want to help you do that more deliberately and not just by serendipity. And you can tell the example of the serendipity with the dog trade magazine that resulted in a big business, but you want to say it brings more money to you and to the company if we do this in a more deliberate way. For example, we can place this, and you go back to the solution selling that you were doing earlier. You're doing solution selling and you're telling people, this is our customers' needs. They come to us and we can fulfill that. But you want to be the person who helps them. In the same way that we have the hero's journey, you want to be the wise guy who advises them, and they are the heroes, and you are the wise man who advises them how to do that. Part of the technique is speaking in first person plural. Part of the technique is speaking you and them. The you and them is I want to help you, and from that moment on is us. And you guys need to help me so that we can be more collectively successful at doing this. And you're using a technique called reverse social engineering, because the moment somebody agrees to help you, to help them, they're hooked. They cannot get away from that. There are many things that you say that are extremely useful and extremely one-stop shop. And you're doing solution selling. And there's a thing that when you're talking with data, we tend to focus on the technical stuff. People buy holes, they don't buy drills. We ship drills, we invoice holes, and we sell holes. We sell the fulfilling of the need of holes. So people need data that customers like. Furthermore, you don't ask them to put your link back. You say it will be further improved for your customers or your readers if you put a link back to us. In other words, for every transaction in the chain, you reverse the transaction, you offer them to offer their customers or their media that if they link back to you, they will serve their customers better. What I'm saying is the delivery is perfect. You know the stuff, you can teach us masterclass of this. Absolutely. But I've been selling stuff and I don't want to discover in the last minute what's in for me. I need to be told upfront, this is the engagement, these are the rules of engagement, this dude is trying to help me to make more money. I can listen to that. And it doesn't matter if it's 10 minutes or 20 minutes or half an hour, I will listen all the time because I do want to make money. You have the technique, you are a master of this, nobody can teach you this. I can only make suggestions on structure because the structure has to be a change to means to an end. And the end is for them to make more money in order for your company to make more money, in order for you to be more successful. That's the chain. Thank you for the opportunity of commenting on this. It was a lovely speech. I'll send you a picture of my notes.
Thank you so much, George. Boy, we got a guest doing the evaluation and it was a real superstar. Thank you very much. I think it was a great match of skill there. Next up, we have our grammarian report. And for that, we have our president, Graham Cairns.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. A few observations, if I may. The use of the word ripple was by Joni. Joni actually used the word ripple twice, I believe. Jim used it, but Jim was cheating because he said, "Oh, and before I go, ripple." That's cheating. But I guess that's the sort of thing that we learn in Toastmasters, and then it ripples through all the other clubs. So that there you go. I got to use it too. Some words that I really like the use of tonight. Egregious. Now, I know that I used egregious in my introduction to the role, but then I noticed that it was used a number of times by other people, and I just genuinely love the word egregious. So thank you, Evie, for example, for picking up. Staying with Evie, Evie used a cliche tonight. Without further ado, let's move on to. Now, there's nothing wrong with cliches. I mean, cliches are cliches for a reason. A cliche is, in fact, a group of letters or words that are put together in printing terms so that you can pick it up and just translate it so that it's always ready to go. But be careful when you are doing it that it doesn't just become a cliche. Now, in this particular case, it worked, but I really, every time I hear without further ado, well, why not just say now? The other thing is, of course, congratulations, Evie, on saying without further ado rather than without further adieu, which means without saying goodbye. But I hear that all the time. On the subject of cliches, Marianne at one stage said, "Let's put your hands together." And I keep thinking, what, they get stuck with super glue? It's, again, it worked tonight, but try to always, I would suggest that we always try to look for other ways of saying things than just the cliches. We had exemplary from Jim. We had natural presence. Exemplary actually was Joni. Natural presence from Jim. But also, Jim, you use the word "you" a lot, and I kept thinking, are you talking about whether Carolina being a sheep or? Sorry, bad joke there. It's easy to happen. I'm doing that as the counter. And from George, reverse social engineering. I love that phrase. And a phrase that he used that I hadn't heard before: "We don't sell drills, we sell holes." I love that. That resonated with me. That's my grammarian's report.
Oh, Marianne, I think you're muted.
Now, I think Jim Barber was doing 3 things today. He was an evaluator, a chat monitor, and a watcher. So now he's going to give us his report on the watcher and chat monitor role.
I want a pay raise. I can do both of the reports, however, very easily. In terms of watching visually, we were great. It's everything that you would expect from experienced Toastmasters like we have here at Online Presenters. Everybody looked great on camera. Kudos, that was wonderful. As far as the chat monitor goes, the chat was active, but there's nothing really of great historical significance. If there is something that you think you might want to, I remind you that it's very easy to save the chat. You're not wasting any electrons. Just simply do that. That's it, Madam General Evaluator.
Thanks, Jim. Now I'm going to give my report. Tonight, Evie, I loved your quote about the ships. That was terrific. A tip would be to please get it up on the website a little sooner, because I looked early today and I didn't see a quote or a word of the day. And you know, sometimes I like to put a background up so I think about it in advance, but not a big deal. Now the word of the day, oh, excuse me, I was late tonight, and that is never good. It leaves people scrambling. And tonight, there were a lot of roles unfilled, and we did not look good tonight. So, you know, that is not how we want to appear when we have visitors. We want to make sure that we are organized and together, because we are selling ourselves as an advanced club. So I think we all need to do a little better than that. You know, my neighbor came over and I lost track of time, so I apologize. But I think that's something we all need to work on. Timer Andy, you asked Graham the time of his speech. That's something you probably should know ahead of time. Same thing, Evie, with the tip of the day. You were saying, where is it going to be? Is it going to be here? Is it going to be later in the meeting? We should know those things in advance of the beginning. We had terrific club spirit with the people stepping up into the vacant roles. One thing I'd like to just throw out there that you might want to consider is having the Toastmaster of the day and the general evaluator confirm the people who are in both the first half of the meeting and the evaluation portion of the meeting, so that we make sure those roles are full before we get started. Let's see. Overall, it was an interesting and excellent speeches, fun table topics that were very difficult, in my opinion, and a very strong evaluation. So though it was a lean meeting, it was wonderful. So thank you, everybody. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Marianne, for that excellent evaluation. Even though sometimes, sometimes it's, not all sunshine and rainbows. Constant improvement is a continual way to improve, and pointing out those things and encouraging us all to get better is a great way to be that rising tide that lifts all the ships, because constructive criticism, constructive feedback is what gets us there. And honestly, we don't learn except in situations where we fail. That's something that that's kind of a belief that I hold to. So every time I stumble, every time you stumble, those are the times when you're like, oh, okay, I need to improve this specific thing. And that's the only way to move forward, really. So thank you, Marianne, for that. And we'll all take it to heart. For that, thank you everyone for this wonderful meeting. Everyone really just stepped right in, and I really enjoyed it and had a genuinely fun time being the Toastmaster tonight. And with that, I will give it back to our president, Mr. Graham Cairns.
Thank you, Evie. Thank you for that. And just before we close the meeting, comments from our guest, George. Thank you for coming along again tonight, George.
That was a challenging meeting for me. The topics were impossible. The evaluation is almost impossible to evaluate the master. I have to go like Spider-Man against the wall of glass to climb and find something. And I hope that he didn't get too mad at me for focusing too much on the structure, because I didn't have too many other things to criticize, or at least that I could see. The club is brilliant. I love this club. And if I'm tolerated, I will come here as a visitor whenever I can. It's a wonderful club, friendly. Thank you so much.
Always most welcome, George. Thank you. And thank you for your contributions tonight as well. As president, not much that I have. One thing I did want to share was that the International Speech Conference starts this week. In fact, strictly speaking, it starts tomorrow, my time, but the day after yours. So 16th, it starts. $55 is the all access pass online. Now, I know $55 is not something to be sneezed at, but for that $55, you get the opening ceremonies, you get the keynote presentation, the education sessions, the international speech contest, semi-finals, and the World Championship of Public Speaking. You get to see the accredited speaker program and all of the other things like the candidate showcase and the Hall of Fame and the annual business meeting, and lots and lots and lots there. If you can't be in the Bahamas, I'm sorry, many of us can't. Wrong side of the world for me for a start. But if you can't be in the Bahamas, then please take part in the conference as best you can. That starts this week and it continues across to the weekend. It should be lots of fun. And I hope everybody will, at the very least, watch the World Championship of Public Speaking, because no doubt the winning speech will be up on YouTube within a few hours of it being done. Thanks, everyone. And on that note, I will declare the meeting closed. We don't have to go, but